The Industry season 4 finale just happened, and I have a lot of questions about that finale and how it unfolded. But also, there's something about the show. I don't know what it is about the show that makes me say I'm okay with spending my time with these awful, awful people.
All the people who I thought were constants in my life have all become something I didn't know they were.
Roxana Hadadi's here and Chris Murphy's here, and we get to talking about why this is a show that makes you feel so awful, and yet at the same time you're like, actually, I can't get enough of it. Love this conversation. I hope that you get into it. Let's go. Hello, both of you.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
I should give this disclaimer though, like if folks are listening and they have not seen the season 4 finale, we're gonna get into the details. We're gonna do it. So this is your heads up. You know, a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it and then come back to this conversation. I think the place for us to start is the start of season 4 right here.
We might be standing on the verge of something great, but the work is ugly. It's anti-status quo, anti-establishment, anti-power.
Which part of that is meant to be a problem for us?
So that's Eric and Harper. That's played by, of course, by Ken Leung and Myhala, and she has left the investment bank where the whole show started. She's launched her own hedge fund, and now they're working together. And I think someone would listen to that and go like, these people sound like not such great people. Why would I want to spend all this time with them? Putting aside the cinematography, which is amazing, and the acting, which is great, and all the formal aspects of all of this, I guess maybe, Roxana, we should start by saying, what is the thing that makes the Industry so worth your time that we should keep spending time with the show?
I think what it is for me is it has all of the fascinations of like a Steven Soderbergh process piece, like something that is very like detail oriented, very elemental, and it is taking place in this like cloistered, exclusive, impenetrable world of finance. It starts out in like banking finance, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then this season, it grows bigger to take on like all manners of class. So since we're in the UK, it's like the landed gentry and the aristocracy. It's also government power and like how does all of that work? I think that it's an incredibly ambitious show and sort of making this argument, which I personally agree with, that like capitalism is toxic and is killing all of us. But it does it in this very entertaining, relationship forward way. And it's gotten a lot of comparisons to Mad Men because of that, right? Like these people working in this industry that they know is corrupted, and yet it's all we have to get ahead, right? So I think that story is like super relatable and digestible for a lot of us. And then all the stuff that you said we shouldn't talk about quite yet, this like great acting, great cinematography, great style
on
of
top
the
of
show
all of that,
is the cherry on top.
I will say though, like to me, like watching Industry is honestly, it's the arc is always watching people figure out exactly the point at which they go like, oh, I have to give up a bit of my soul to do this,
100%.
And then like the battle sort of ensues once they actually figure out that like, oh, that's not actually an option. I have to sort of give a little bit of myself in order to do this. Chris, what was on the line in the finale, and what's your reaction to how we resolved everything in this finale?
I mean, frankly, everything was on the line in the finale. Something that I appreciate about the finale is that we kind of got before the finale in episode 7, we knew it was happening with Tender. It wasn't really about the finance anymore. That storyline had sort of wrapped up, and it was more about the relationships between the characters.
Do you want to explain a little bit of the plot? So we got Henry, and he's sort of got himself into a bit of hot water here. Do you want to explain a little bit of the plot?
Yeah, Henry and Yasmin have started working for this payment processor called Tender, run by Max Minghella. This guy Whitney, played by Max Minghella. It turns out was really corrupt and doing a lot of terrible things in Africa specifically and all over Europe. And Harper and Eric, their funds turned out shorted that company and made a lot of money in the process by exposing that they were terrible. So we sort of get through all of that by episode 7, and when we get into episode 8, we get to focus on the relationships. All right, what's going on between Yasmin and Henry? Right, their relationship dissolves. What's going on between Harper and Kwabena, her employee / kind of boyfriend? Where they stand, and then really most importantly, Harper and Yaz. We end episode 7. They're at the club, they're kissing, it's great. And of course, we have this huge fall where Yasmin reveals herself to be a pretty despicable person. And so I think I thought the series did a great job of sort of like wrapping up the relationships and sort of pushing them further than we even thought they could go.
Yeah.
Did it jump the shark a little bit with like Russia interference? Yes, I think we we went a little bit too far.
Oh.
I think it's a little bit much,
Yeah.
but I was really bowled over by the finale.
Okay, so let me just explain some of the things here in terms of like how the story sort of unfolds. So you have the aristocrat is Henry Muck, and of course played by Kit Harington, Sir Henry Muck, I should note. He's saying no to Whitney's offer. So Whitney's offer is like, hey, let's escape. Let's get out. Here's a passport. Let's get out of here. And Henry Muck is like, no, I would rather be me poor. You know, I think actually the line that he says, I'd rather be me dead than you on the run, because Henry Muck is so sort of married to his own idea of class. And then his wife, Yasmin, is leaving him. She chooses a path that could maybe be worse than Whitney's, even though Harper does offer her a way out. Let's have a listen to that scene.
Is that what this is about? Are you gonna record all of these men? Why? Why? To what end? This is not who you are. Please, you do not have to do this. We can just go. We can go for a walk, or forget this video. Forget. Let's just go. Yasmin, if you have cared at all about me ever, you will take my fucking hand. Come on. I'm sorry. The world showing you what it is. You said that to me.
Roxana, what'd you make of that scene?
I think it's the core of this show, right? And so some
Yeah.
context here is that like Harper obviously throughout all these seasons has been like betraying people, backstabbing people. We have come to think of her as like this ambitious sociopath, whereas Yasmin, born into money, her father was a sexual abusive publisher. From the beginning, she's been written as a little bit of a Ghislaine Maxwell type.
Yeah.
And in this finale, she really embraces that. She takes over this blackmailing, sex trafficking, honeypotting scheme that used to be run by Whitney. And Harper realizes this, right? She realizes that her best friend is now a madame for all of these like young women, some even teenagers, and she's horrified, right? And so there's this line in the sand, to your point, Elamin, of like, how much of yourself are you willing to give up for power? And we've finally found the line between these two best friends who for 4 seasons have been like forgiving the terrible things that each of them have done, including Yasmin killing her father and Harper helping cover it up. But now this is the line, right? Like subjugating other women and thinking that its empowerment is the line. And I think it is a wonderful scene. I interviewed the co-creators of this show, Mickey Down and Conrad Kay, and they talked about the take my hand moment where we literally see a hand extended as this wonderful note that they received that like lays it out on the line, right? Like the show is, do you take an extended hand, someone who is like willing to offer you a way out without money and power, or do you stay in this like awful world where you have it, but you're alone? So I love it. Like this is the show to me. This is the whole thing.
Did that moment work for you? Like when you sort of think about, because like let me just again give a bit of context to that, maybe for folks who have not been fully following, but like Whitney, who runs that sort of fraudulent fintech startup, he puts people in compromising situations. He gathers the evidence, and then what you're talking about there is Yaz sort of stepping into a Ghislaine Maxwell type role. The idea that like this is very parallel to all of the sort of like the Epstein conversations that are sort of going on in the real world. Does that work for you as a sort of like parallel of like depicting how someone might end up in a position like that?
For me, it did, because I think even if you're separating the Epstein and Ghislaine aspect of it, this season is, I would argue, pretty heavily shaped by the Wirecard scandal in Germany, which was also a payment processing company that had ties to Russian intelligence, that was basically like a massive fraud that like tricked the German government into helping fund it. There's a massive New Yorker story about that. And within that New Yorker story, they mentioned that one of their tactics was videotaping men in sexual encounters and blackmailing them about it. So I felt like there was a lot of like real world truth to this. And I think it underscores what this show has been saying all along, which is that, like, if your only initiative, your only incitement is profit, you're going to do everything to hold on to that profit.
Yeah.
So I found it believable for the world of the show.
Chris, I got to say that, like, all of these characters, we get exposed deeply to all of the toxic and sort of despicable parts of them, but we also get a fair bit of windows into their traumas and the things that sort of made them that way. And we talk about Harper, like, this is someone who started without a college education, raised by a single mom, truly a striver. You know, Yaz is someone who's, like, unwilling to sort of let go of this survivor kind of sort of narrative that she has. But as we sort of see all of these people be like, these are really bad people, and this is where their bad behavior comes from. Why is that something that's so compelling for us to watch? Like, why can't people look away from a show like Industry?
Well, I mean, we love to see flickers of humanity in the worst people, right? I mean, that's sort of what what any sort of narrative structure is based on. We don't want to see nice, happy people doing nice, happy things all day. What's the point of that?
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that, right? And you know, as Roxana said, like, you know, there so much of this is, you know, inspired and influenced by real things that are happening in our real world that are impacting us and affecting us, whether we know it directly or not.
Yeah.
So seeing these narrative turns of these people that, you know, it's so easy to just call Harper a sociopath, but it's like, well, that's actually not correct, right? And it, there's you know, she has her reasons, the machinations. They're not, you know, she might not be a good person. She might not, you know, always do the morally right thing, but it's so much more interesting to engage with people who seem to be despicable, and to see why they might be that way or what compels them to be that way, than to either just write them off or to, you know, not engage with them whatsoever. I think it's human nature to want to know why bad people do bad things.
It truly, truly is. And I think, like, this show does it in a way that sort of unfolds very naturally and, like, doesn't feel forced. And I think that's actually the magical thing that they get right. Roxana, Industry was just renewed for a 5th season. It's going to be the final season. Where do you want to see the show go from here? Because, like, this show is really good at, first of all, saying goodbye to characters. Like, for example, it said goodbye to the Eric character in a really beautiful way. You know, it's also a show that just says, hey, sometimes you have to say goodbye to some people. But then now we're going to go into the 5th and final season. Where do you want to see the show go from here?
Yeah, this show has this, like, relentless forward momentum because the industry that it's talking about has relentless forward momentum, right? Yeah. So, like, a lot of these people are not going to stick around. This show just gets rid of characters.
Yeah.
But what I would say is something I'm really fascinated by is I would love for us to go back to New York, because the reason that the show sort of starts in London is that, like, Harper, as we mentioned, didn't graduate. So, like, she doesn't have a degree. She can't get a job in New York. The Eric Tao character sort of, like, graduated from New York to London.
Yeah.
There's all this discussion this season about, like, whether you can have a second act in your life. And so I would be fascinated by the question of, like, okay, so can they make it in New York? Can they make it in the US? And what sort of commentary can we make about the American system, which is also bad. So there's a lot of content there.
That's true.
You know, we got a lot of narrative to get through.
Chris, I got about 30 seconds left here. Where do you want to see Industry go for its final season?
I totally agree. I think that would be great. I also do want all the people, the ghosts from the past, to pop up in different ways. Rob is in San Francisco. Where is Gus been from season 1? We saw a little bit of Daria. We've seen, you know, Kenny a little bit. I want Eric to come back. I want Rishi to come back. I want everybody to be confronted with all the bodies that they've buried, all the ghosts from their past, and have to deal with that and reckon with the choices that they've made in the final season. So that could happen in New York. I think that would be great.
Well, one thing that I admire about the show, one thing I really admire about Industry is that it's very intentional in ways a lot of other shows are not. Like, they are really efficient at using the tiny space that they have, and so I can't wait for a 5th and final season. In the meantime, I'll let the two of you go. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you. Roxana Hadadi is a critic at Vulture. She's in Columbia, Maryland. Chris Murphy is a staff writer at Vanity Fair. He's in New York, and you can watch Industry on Crave. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We'll be back tomorrow. We'd love to see you then. Have a great day.